Hey guys, today I'm going to be reviewing Season 2 of The Serpent Queen. So, before I head into my thoughts and feelings on Season 2 of The Serpent Queen, there is a fairly reasonable chance that this video will contain some mild spoilers, possibly, maybe. I still haven't quite figured out how I'm going to do with spoilers in this video. For the love of God, this is Season 2 of a show, and if you're just kind of randomly stumbling across this video, I don't really know why you would watch it since it's a Season 2. So that's kind of why I'm thinking I'm probably going to most likely do spoilers in this video. Then again, this is a show based off of history, even though it is historical fiction, and the show definitely takes creative liberties, massive creative liberties. Still, it's based off of history, and I don't consider history to be a spoiler by any means. So, what exactly is happening in Season 2 of The Serpent Queen? Catherine's son is now King Charles IX, and she faces religious and political turmoil as her enemies seek to undermine her. That's pretty much the kind of the basic overall plot of the season. Kind of similar to the first season in some ways. Everyone is seeking to outmaneuver and outwit Catherine, and she's trying to get a leg up above everybody. So how did I feel about Season 2 in general? I think for the most part, I personally liked it quite a bit better than Season 1, I think. I really enjoyed Season 1. The thing is, I did have some issues with Season 1. Some of my issues, I felt like Season 1, that there was like a really inconsistent tone and pace to Season 1 that was kind of a little frustrating on occasion, despite me really enjoying it. It kind of, the tone, like the dark humor sometimes kind of felt a little all over the place and out of sorts on occasion. It was just kind of a little weird sometimes, the tone and the pacing of the show. Whereas Season 2, I feel like Season 2 did a better job of kind of focusing in on what it needed to focus on and really kind of stick to that. And I felt like it made Season 2 a bit more of a tighter, well more focused season, if that makes sense. And the tone, especially with this second season, felt more evenly balanced, I suppose, because it still was playing with the really dark, dry humor, and Catherine was continuing the fourth wall breaking, because in Season 1, Catherine was constantly always kind of turning to the camera and saying something to us, the viewer, a lot of times something really snarky and sarcastic, that other characters could not hear. And she continues to do it in Season 2. I feel like she doesn't do it as much as she did in Season 1, though. I think they kind of held back a little bit on that. So one of the big differences, and I think one of the big takeaways I kind of took from this season, the second season, I suppose, Season 1 was all about a young Catherine coming into the French court, kind of living with the Medici name and kind of all that meant and the consequences of that, I suppose, the ramifications, and her kind of dealing with her past struggles and her, the infamy of her family name and whatnot, her coming into the French court as a young woman and trying to really claim her place and claim her identity within this family, and then having to put up with her rival, Diane de Poitiers, who was, the mistress to her husband and whatnot. So Catherine was dealing with a lot of issues in the first season where she kept trying to make power moves and step up and up and up, and a lot of times she was kind of constantly thwarted, and she would have to kind of rethink a plan a lot of times. So this second season, Catherine's not really having to kind of do a lot of that. She already has the power that she wants, and I think we have a Catherine this season who is very self-assured of herself and very confident, probably overconfident on occasion, because she does have her setbacks and things that do fall apart in some ways, and she has to kind of re-navigate and refigure something when something does fall apart. And Catherine does still have rivals this season, because she's still putting up with the Bourbons and the Guises, and then Queen Elizabeth of England comes in, and she's dealing with all of her spoiled children. You know, she's definitely still struggling with rivalry and issues, and yeah, Sister Edith, you know, that whole religious thing going on in the background. She's still dealing with a lot of that stuff. But yeah, again, I think we still have a Catherine this season who is much more confident, to a degree being overconfident on occasion, and sometimes putting her emotions on the back burner. You know, I think sometimes in season 1 she tried to be emotional when she could, and I think she kind of started realizing, you know, emotion is a weakness almost to some degree. So it's like this season she's really trying to put a back burner on her emotions, and that almost is an issue, especially with her children who think she's cold-blooded and heartless, that she is the Serpent Queen, you know. As much as I love Samantha Morton as Catherine de Medici, you guys, she just kills it. In both seasons so far, Catherine de Medici is just a highlight. Samantha Morton is a highlight. She's just a badass bitch. I love her. Yes, there's definitely historical inaccuracies within the character of Catherine de Medici, but for the love of God, this is a historical fiction show. A lot of times that doesn't really bother me. I'm just going along with it as long as I'm entertained. I love doing research after the fact. But yeah, as much as I love Samantha Morton, the thing is, I think the big, huge highlight for me this season has got to be the Valois children. All of Catherine's children, because she has a lot of them, you guys. Seriously, I loved how dysfunctional this family is. I mean, even the character, the Duke of Anjou, later in the season, he's sitting there talking about, you know, if you all think we're perfect, we're not perfect, we all have issues and flaws, you all, I hate to burst your bubble, you know. He's like, we live in the most dysfunctional family there is. It's like the Duke of Anjou says it perfectly at one point in one of the episodes, how dysfunctional this family is, and none of them are saints, they're all sinners. But yeah, I loved the family dysfunction of the Valois children, each of their individual relationships with Catherine, each of their relationships within each other as siblings. It's like they're siblings. They should really be trying to support each other against the things that Catherine is oftentimes doing. But the thing is, Catherine is oftentimes manipulating and controlling and maneuvering her own children to the point that they are all kind of sitting and doing the same thing to each other within their sibling dynamics. So that was absolutely interesting and compelling to me, the sibling dynamics with all of the Valois children. You guys, like I said, their relationships with each other, their relationships with Catherine, it was great. I love that sort of thing. Anytime I'm watching a show like this, if there's rival brothers, you know, all competing for like power and domination, you know, I seriously, I'm a sucker for that sort of thing. Give it to me. And yeah, Catherine is using each and every single child for some sort of political leverage, and that's kind of the big question of this whole season in some ways. You know, does she love her children? She says, I think several times, that she does love her children and that everything she is doing is for her children, but you do constantly kind of question the things that she is doing, because by the time you get to the end of this season, none of her children are happy. They're either dead or they're not happy. Or they're completely just deranged psychopaths, like the Duke of Anjou, for instance. Yeah, like Margot gets put into a loveless, unhappy marriage, and then yeah, we get the whole, that is what it's called, the St. Bartholomew's Day massacre, correct? We get that whole thing play out. Yeah, the Duke of Anjou, he's all sorts of twisted and psychopathic. Yeah, Charles, who you would think would be kind of the most well-behaved of the children, he ends up going down a pretty dark path kind of near the end as well. Good Lord, he struck his own sister in the face, you guys. That was unbelievable. Now, as I was saying, this show is historical fiction. It is definitely taking creative liberties with stuff, and my understanding is that there's definitely a lot of creative liberties taken with each of the children, because at one point Margot is, you know, just spouting out to Catherine, you know, this is what has happened to each and every one of us. You know, the character of Hercule, who died like in episode 3 of this season, my understanding is that he should be alive at this point in history. He shouldn't be dead. I am no expert on the French monarchy, you guys. I am no expert, so don't quote me on any of this, but I think when I was doing research, he is supposed to technically still be alive. And does he become a king too after Charles? Because they have that accurate, that Charles is dying, you know, from something, and there is another king after him before we get to the Bourbons. I think after Charles dies, I want to, is it Hercule? Yeah, guys, I want to say it's Hercule who is king after Charles before we get to the Bourbons, because we do meet Henry, Antoine's son, this season, who marries Margot, and I believe he is the king after that. Correct? Once again, guys, I am no expert on the French monarchy. I could be just totally making all of this up. But yeah, back to the question, does Catherine love her children? I think she does in her own twisted sort of way, because in her eyes, I think she does think she is doing everything for the political advantage of her children. You know, she's trying to give them the best possible life where they will be safe and protected, because you've kind of gotten the idea of Catherine, you know, she's kind of always been running her whole entire life, and she's never really felt safe or protected, and yet men have always sought to undermine her and to overpower her, and I think she's trying to put her children, all of them, even, you know, even the girls, in positions of wealth and power where they do have some sort of control, you know, even if it leads to unhappy lives. So I think she does love them to some degree, but she's not letting them have any sort of happiness as a result. We definitely have to talk about Minnie Driver, you guys. Minnie Driver popped up this season as Queen Elizabeth I of England, you guys. Hell yes. I was really looking forward to Minnie Driver. I don't even know what the last thing I saw Minnie Driver in was. It's been years since I've even seen her in anything. I loved her performance as Queen Elizabeth. Do Catherine de' Medici and Elizabeth, do they historically meet in real life? I don't think they do. Again, I'm no expert with the French monarchy and kind of what goes down, but from what I know of like the Tudors, because I feel more confident talking about like the Tudors, I don't think, seriously, I don't think Elizabeth ever left England and like traveled out anywhere, you know, once she was queen. I don't think she ever did that. So I don't think that this, you know, the meeting that happened with Catherine and Elizabeth, I think that did not historically happen. But either way, whether or not it did or didn't happen, the thing is, it was still super entertaining and engrossing, and seeing these two women who are huge powerhouses in this time in history, seeing them come together and clash, you know, seeing that they are common, you know, they share commonalities with one another, but yeah, they're still kind of going about things differently, you know, they're still political rivals, and it was just so compelling and fascinating. Yeah, Minnie Driver and Samantha Morton, hell yes, just give me a whole damn season of that. That was great. And again, I brought up a little bit ago the Saint Bartholomew's Day massacre. I believe that's what that event is that happens in the season finale of season 2. Oh my god. Yeah, guys, even if you're struggling with this whole damn season, if you didn't enjoy it as much as I did, seriously, just at least make it to that season finale, because the season finale is definitely just superb and just one of the best episodes of the season, and just so intense and action-packed and unexpected. You got characters left and right being murdered all over the place. Seriously, I was kind of, maybe I'm just morbid, I was super glad when Sister Edith, when Catherine took the dinner knife and just slit Sister Edith's throat. I was like, thank God, yes, because I hated Sister Edith, you guys. But yeah, the massacre, the wedding massacre or whatever, it was like this show's version of like the red wedding from Game of Thrones, you guys. It was great. I loved every second of it, and just blood everywhere, you guys. Oh my god. And again, I'm not entirely sure historically who all realistically died during this massacre, but in the context of the show, a lot of characters who were fictional, a lot of the fictional characters died off, because like the one character, Abbas, it looked like Abbas was dead, you guys, and I believe she's a fictional character, and I think Sister Edith is a fictional character too, if I'm not mistaken. And then they made it look like the Bourbon brothers, they made it look like initially the two of them had died, but then they all just kind of popped up at the very end of the episode perfectly fine. Yeah, the Guises, right? The Guises made it out alive. Yeah, just all sorts of people died in that finale. Montmorency died. That was pretty shocking. I was like, oh my god. And then Catherine even, you know, betraying her own brother. You know, we got introduced to Catherine's brother this season, Alessandro de' Medici. We got introduced to him this season. I was super shocked that she killed her own half-brother, you guys. My god. And the way this season ended, it ended with this idea, this notion that even though Charles IX is dying, Catherine still has her backup plan. You know, she always has a backup to the backup to the backup. And we kind of leave this season with the idea that the Duke of Anjou, she is kind of steering him in the direction that he will be the next king of France after Charles dies. And I love that finale. It's like, here we have a psychopathic the Duke of Anjou, he just committed a murder spree for his mother, you guys, which, once again, this is historical fiction. I don't think the Duke of Anjou went around committing a murder spree for his mother. And again, historically, I don't think the Duke of Anjou becomes king after Charles. I don't think that happens. But yeah, if that's what happens in season 3 and the Duke of Anjou becomes king, I'm here for it. I'm totally here for it. Seriously, his character, other than Catherine, obviously, the Duke of Anjou was seriously my favorite character of the season. I just loved his performance. I loved the story and the plot with him. I'm a sucker for that type of character, you know, a young guy who is a younger sibling, and he's dealing with his more powerful sibling who is a king. You know, I love that sort of dynamic in shows like this, with the younger brother, you know, who has a chip on his shoulder, and, you know, the angel demon sort of thing. And yeah, Catherine kind of being that angel and demon for him. So yeah, the Duke of Anjou definitely my favorite character this season, yes. So yeah, some quick additional thoughts here. I think there was a better use of Rahima this season, to be quite honest. I didn't really care one way or another about Rahima back in season 1. I was a bit indifferent to her, and sometimes I didn't quite understand her role and function within what was going on. But this season, I definitely felt like there was a much better use of Rahima, you know, time better spent with her to make her a bit more of an interesting character. And yeah, I definitely felt for her by the end. And another plus for me, I think we only had one episode that showed Mary Queen of Scots, if I'm not mistaken, like she was already imprisoned. Mary Queen of Scots, I was really looking forward to Mary Queen of Scots back in season 1, and I was really frustrated and disappointed with the portrayal of Mary on the show, because I just did not like Mary. I thought she was just really whiny and petulant and just way too over the top and cartoonish, and she just wasn't the Mary I have envisioned in my head. So I was really glad Mary Queen of Scots was just out of this season, and she was just in the one episode. Keep her imprisoned. And I mentioned Alessandro de Medici really quickly. He was a nice touch this season. I like that dynamic that he had with both Rahima and Catherine, because yeah, he forms a romance with Rahima, and yes, she's pregnant by the end of the season, you guys. Oh my god. And is that it? I feel like I'm just sitting here rambling away about my thoughts and feelings on this season of the Serpent Queen. In general, I really liked this season. I really enjoyed it. Will we get a third season? That is questionable at this point. The way the season ended, I wouldn't be surprised if it doesn't come back, if it just kind of leaves where it's at, because it's not really leaving anything open in like a massive cliffhanger, you know. It's like, if you know your history, you kind of know where it's kind of going from that point on. But yeah, if it does get renewed for a third season, I would definitely love to see that. I think there's still things that could continue on, you know. Catherine is still a super fascinating, interesting woman in this time in history, so I think there's still stuff that can be developed from there. So you guys, that is it for my thoughts and feelings on season 2 of the Serpent Queen. In the comments below, did you guys watch this latest season? Did you love it? Did you hate it? If you hated it, that's okay. I am very lenient when it comes to shows like this, that I consider them definitely to be historical fiction being the thing. I don't sit and take shows like this overly seriously. I love watching shows like this and then going and doing the research after the fact, you know. That's kind of what I get joy and pleasure out of doing. So yeah, I personally enjoyed this season. So let me know how you feel about the season. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and if you like this video, you may like these other videos. Bye guys.